Right now on the National Weather Desk, the heat is on. Sweltering temperatures are heading to the west, and they could stick around for days.
We worry most about heat stroke.
Pup in peril. Police rescue a dog locked inside of a hot car. The cicada invasion is underway, but in some places, they are surprisingly hard to find.
Those sites where, again, we've critically seen them in the past, they haven't been there.
The wind was so strong in the Pacific Northwest, it stranded 2 cruise ships.
We've been getting a lot of calls.
New information about the latest volcanic eruption in Hawaii, and a longtime Weather Channel reporter tells us about his role in a very viral TV moment.
People were saying it looked like I was peeing on national TV.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. 33 million Americans are under a heat alert today as a dangerous heat dome descends on portions of the West and Texas. We're talking about triple-digit temperatures that would be 20 degrees higher than you would typically see in early June. And by tomorrow, we could see 110 degrees or even higher in places like Phoenix and Las Vegas. Amy Kiley has more.
A heat dome is scorching parts of the U.S. Today, millions of people in the Southwest are under heat advisories. Forecasters say it could get dangerously hot in states farther north and east later in the week. Some areas could set new records.
Heat can affect pretty much any body system, unfortunately, if it's left unchecked.
The National Weather Service says extreme heat is the #1 cause of weather-related deaths.
We worry most about heat stroke, especially when there are heat waves.
Higher temperatures also mean higher air conditioning costs. A new report predicts a sweltering summer will force Americans to pay about a third more for energy this June through September than in 2019. That's a total of about $200 more on average.
And here's another reminder to never leave a child or animal alone inside of a hot car. Police in Florida say this dog was locked inside a U-Haul truck on Sunday while the owners went to the beach. The windows were cracked only a little bit. The dog was reportedly inside for at least an hour with no water. The temperature inside was likely over 100 degrees. The animal was safely removed from that car. The owners, though, could face some charges here. The Coral Fire in California is more than 75% contained this morning. It burned more than 22 square miles, destroying 1 home and injuring 2 firefighters. Evacuation orders have been lifted. Firefighters said improved weather conditions allowed them to make progress against those flames. A border control agent is in the hospital after a tornado hit his home in southwest Texas. Now, this happened Sunday night, 4 hours west of San Antonio. The local sheriff says the twister obliterated his trailer. The agent suffered multiple fractures. Damage in the community, though, is very extensive. And high winds lingered Monday in the Seattle area from atmospheric rivers that also brought heavy rain. Winds were so strong that 2 large cruise ships were stranded in the bay until extra tugboats could be found to pull them in. The gusty winds also took down power lines and trees, forcing several schools to close as well. Ryan Sims has more.
Windstorm 101. When the gusts spike, tree cutters strike.
I think the house is 75 feet away, and it's about a 95-foot tree. So there was probably about that much that would hit the house.
On such a weather-worn day, Greg Vandenberg was one of many who suddenly called this emergency tree cutter.
Earlier, it was a little more dicey, and had to get the family out of there quick.
Greg's story is the norm rather than the exception, as so many trees are now in full bloom.
These leaves are brand new. They're holding on tight to these branches, and they're acting like sails for these trees.
The result, at one time, 20,000 people were without power in Snohomish County alone, causing a mad dash for gas.
And we just run the pellet stove and just a light, and we'll make it through.
Sadly, a Lake Stevens homeowner will not have that option. In the aftermath of high winds, take a look. A downed electrical line led to this fire, which was a total loss.
We've been getting a lot of calls. As a matter of fact, right here, just now, there's in Snohomish, there's a line down on the roadway.
Despite such a wild, wacky, windy time, nobody has been hurt in any of this.
And we are watching 2 areas for a slight risk of severe storms today. That's a 2 on a scale of 1 to 5. One is across the south from Oklahoma to Mississippi. The second is a narrow band running from the northern Minnesota to Kansas. Large hail and also damaging wind gusts are primary threats in those cases. The Kilauea volcano in Hawaii began erupting early Monday morning. It's the first eruption since September of last year. That one, you may remember, lasted more than a week. This one happened in an area that has not seen activity in nearly 50 years. Now the Hawaii Volcano Observatory says the eruption has paused. It says activity remains dynamic and could change quickly. It does not pose an immediate threat to human life or critical infrastructure there. A summertime staple in northeast Wisconsin is almost ready. While it's not quite red and juicy yet, farmers in the area say they're looking forward to a healthy strawberry crop this season. And as Andrew Mertens found out, a rainy May should make for an excellent field.
The strawberry crop that's laying out there is looking really good.
After a storm struck Greiling Gardens outside of Denmark last week, the farm was concerned about small hail damaging the berries.
Pea-sized hail, and there was no wind with it.
88-year-old Neil Greiling has been farming since he was 13 years old. He and his daughter Dina say thankfully the berries didn't sustain any damage.
This last round, it was a bit much because it came in hard and heavy. But the strawberries are early in their development. They're not far enough along for that kind of rain to damage them.
While it seemed that much of northeast Wisconsin couldn't escape the rain last month, it was overall a positive for strawberries.
Here at Porter's Patch in Shawano County, the recent rounds of rain in the month of May were a blessing. They anticipate we'll be picking some of these strawberries between June 10th and June 15th.
We were very dry over the winter. We hardly had any snowfall. So it was kind of scary, but the rains came and filled everything back up. And we've been getting timely rains now, strawberries, and all these berries really like a lot of water when they're forming that berry.
The rainy days have also helped out other berries like blueberries and raspberries, which also appear to have an earlier harvest time this year. The biggest concern with more rain is for other crops that have yet to be planted.
You want to have the ground at the right consistency to seed or to transplant. And if it's raining, you miss that date on the other end in the fall.
With rainfall in the forecast for this week, farmers are hopeful their strawberry crop will withstand what comes their way.
An inch or two a week is really nice for these perennial crops. There's no problem yet. And I think more rains are not going to hurt them.
And Brood 19 cicadas have already come and gone in parts of North Carolina. And despite the expected huge numbers this year, they were hard to find. Meteorologist Megan Danahay has more.
Cicadas from Brood 19 were last seen in Buncombe County when soil temperatures became warm enough back on May 20th, 2011. Commercial horticulture agent for Buncombe County, Luke Owen, has been looking for signs of the emergence of this cicada with a 13-year life cycle for weeks now.
Those sites where, again, we've critically seen them in the past, they haven't been there in the numbers that we were expecting. We've seen some posts some people have done in their yards, again, very isolated pockets. And we were expecting it to be isolated, but not quite to this extent.
So why is this periodical cicada so isolated? Mostly they emerge and breed right where they live. If they travel, they only travel a maximum distance of 200 feet, which is just about the distance of this orange line.
I asked Luke why the numbers are so much lower than expected this emergence year.
We've seen quite the amount of construction. Expanding I-26 and some other major thoroughfares in the area, increasing resident populations. I mean, we've seen almost a 30% increase, I think, to Asheville since 2000.
Some of you may remember a very active cicada season not too long ago. Those were likely periodical cicadas from Brood 6 with a 17-year life cycle.
But the one that comes to mind that really impacted a lot of western North Carolina was in 2017. So yeah.
Brood 6 in 10
Brood
years.
6, 10 years.
Will make a lot more noise.
Yes, a lot more noise for sure.
And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll hear from a family in Austin, Texas about how they are recovering after their home and business were destroyed in a recent hailstorm. And we're going to show you why some thunderstorms turned the sky green.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have a wide range in temperatures on the way in the Northeast today. There'll be parts of New England that have a hard time getting out of the upper 60s, and other parts of the Northeast will make it into the upper 80s to near 90 degrees. We'll see a lot of sun, but an onshore wind will keep temperatures a little bit cooler, closer to the coastline. There may be a spot shower this afternoon in spots. That's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I think we have a greater risk for showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday, and the pattern becomes more unsettled late week.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region as we head through your Tuesday, starting out dry. 1 or 2 showers possible towards your afternoon, but mostly dry here. Better chances to come your way for rainfall as we head into Wednesday. There will be a few around on your Wednesday morning, but as we head in the afternoon, better chances coming. Scattered showers and thunderstorms likely. Still pretty hot for your Tuesday afternoon. Highs in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees. Will be a few degrees cooler with the rain around as we head into your Wednesday.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Here's a look at our highs for today. Most of us in the low 90s. However, some of us still staying in the mid and upper 80s. Asheville always our coolest spot in the upper 70s. Now we do have some rain pushing through the area associated with a weak low pressure system. Parent low is up closer to the Great Lakes. We'll see rain around the northern part of our area, mostly north of Jackson, Mississippi, traveling across the southeast. Sea breeze dynamic still in effect for the Florida Peninsula, although shower possibility is slightly lower.
The National Weather Desk.
Meteorologist Mike Seidel has been a household name for decades. He's covered over 100 tropical storms and hurricanes, as well as every other major weather event since 1992. He's no longer with the Weather Channel, so he recently sat down with meteorologist Emily Gracie to talk about what he's learned in those 32 years of covering catastrophic weather.
Well, one thing you don't want to do is get wet, especially in the winter. So, you know, I'll always wear plenty of layers. And the other thing about the winter, you never want to be cold and wet. So you will layer up and take it as it is and try to drink a lot of water, whether it's cold weather or warm weather or hot weather. Always got to stay hydrated.
Any live shots or certain weather events really stand out to you that you definitely remember? They were impactful.
Well, certainly the one hurricane that's going to stand out for me is just a couple of years ago, Hurricane Ian, because it was such a major force and the speed. We were in the eye wall for 5+ hours. The wind was just howling. It sounded like a hornet's nest.
Was it ever emotionally draining to be at natural disasters and kind of see the aftermath of how people were affected?
When you go into a place like Moore, Oklahoma, after a 5, an EF5, and there's been a lot of death, and people have lost their homes, it can get to you. You just have to kind of deal with it the best you can. That's probably the worst part of all the live coverage I did, was going in after a devastating hurricane or tornado and talk to people who have lost everything.
Any live shots have unpredictable things happen during them?
On NBC Nightly News, where I lost communication to New York, so I quickly turned my back and took off my glove. I'm trying to redial the IFB number. Then they came to me live on air, and then all of a sudden, within 20 minutes online, people were saying it looked like I was peeing on national TV. And it looks like, all you see is my back, and I'm hunched over and trying to dial the phone. And then I get my glove back on and turn around, and Lester Holt throws it to me.
And to go more in depth with Mike about his career covering everything from hurricanes to blizzards, check out this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. He will talk about the early days of his career and the most memorable moments over the years. Find Off the Radar anywhere you get your podcasts. A husband and wife own a farm and restaurant in a small Texas town just east of Austin. A massive hailstorm recently destroyed almost everything they had planted. But as meteorologist CICADA Windler found out, they are now on the road to recovery.
When you think about farm-to-table dining, it doesn't get any fresher than straight from the farm to the table, all in the same day. On Main Street in Bastrop, Texas, you'll find Eden East Farm nestled on 5 cozy acres.
It literally is the most self-fulfilling thing out there, to be able to provide fresh food to people.
Farmer owner David Barrow
Watch for this mud and puddle right here.
says it's all about making food accessible, offering education, green space, and nutrition.
We make pickles in our sleep. Like all we do is pickle.
Down the street at Storehouse Market and Eatery.
All right, coming in.
You'll find David's wife, Sonia Cote. The chef owner takes what David harvests at the farm and develops recipes to highlight those ingredients.
From the beginning to the end, you know, it's just love from that farmer to the hands of the chef.
So my wife and I were drawn together because that we share the same amount of passion.
So he runs the farm and I kind of run the restaurant. So it's like kind of a nice little dynamic.
The dynamic duo moved from Austin to Bastrop 4 years ago, bringing the farm to the table and watching their vision grow. They'd had some ups and downs, but nothing like what happened April 9th.
Between 10 p.m. and 10:14 p.m., it felt like we were the epicenter of the hailstorm. It was extremely isolated, but we had everything from golf ball to baseball-sized hail. Tomato plants looked like someone had de-topped them and taken a weed eater through them. Radishes were just torn out of the ground. Bok choy completely disintegrated. Broccoli completely disintegrated.
How has Mother Nature been treating you?
I mean, Mother Nature is an unpredictable foe, and we just work with her and have patience with her because we know that she can be devastating or that she can be very supportive. So if you just find that happy medium, you should be good to grow.
And there's growing optimism. New plants are thriving. Tomatoes are weeks behind but making progress, and summer crops are germinating in the greenhouse.
I feel like it builds character and kind of gives you that grit.
A testament to recovery and resilience.
There you go.
In Bastrop, Texas, I'm CICADA Windler for the National Weather Desk.
Have you ever noticed the sky looking a little green during a storm? Well, it's something that actually happens. Meteorologist Natalie Walters posted about it on TikTok.
Why does the sky sometimes look green when there's a strong storm? Well, there are a couple of things you have to get this greenish appearance. One, you have to have a storm with a high water content. So this storm is likely going to have some very heavy rain and potentially some pretty large hail with it. And another thing we have to have is the sun at a lower angle. Now, due to scattering of light with the ice crystals and water droplets, you're typically seeing a bluer tint, but with the lower sun angle in red and yellow colors, it gives the sky a greenish hue. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that there is a tornado, but oftentimes it does indicate a pretty strong thunderstorm, likely with some large hail and definitely some heavy rain.
And speaking of storms, have you ever looked at your local weather radar and seen rain, but when you looked outside, there was no rain falling? Meteorologist Josh Kozlowski explains why this happens.
All right, we're talking about different air masses, moisture and humid air masses versus dry air masses. So when you have dry air out ahead of an area of rainfall and the rain runs into it, usually it doesn't always survive the trip. And we have the phrase called virga. Virga means you can see something on radar, but it's not really reaching the ground. And I think in this situation, as this rain runs into this drier air, we're going to see a lot of this break up, go to more sprinkles, and probably some of it also not reaching the ground. For the National Weather Desk and the Weather Authority, I'm meteorologist Josh Kozlowski.
You have most certainly heard of fog, but what about steam fog? Meteorologist Eric Kostreva explains what it is.
Had a couple cool mornings the last few days,
and that led to some steam fog on this likely shallow body of water. If it was a little bit deeper, likely wouldn't be warm enough to produce this, but because it is shallow, we had enough warmth that was built up during the day, and the cooler nights in the 30s and 40s led to some of the steam fog as the sun was rising. Now, typically, this happens in the fall because we have warmed those bodies of water up more significantly and we have some cooler nights, but because this is a little bit shallower, did have some heat along with it with the cooler morning temperatures. Now, this occurs as the air over the land cools off, moves over that warmer lake. That actually conducts some of the warm, moist air from the lake, and we get some of that fog to occur in the morning. So you may see this more often during the fall, but it can happen this time of the year after some warmer days and some cooler nights, especially on those shallower bodies of water.
And time now for a short break, but first let's take in views of farmers hard at work.
Good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. We've got scattered showers and storms all across the Midwest for the day today. It's going to be warm and humid for most of us. A little cooler out in the Dakotas with highs in the 70s today. As we continue on into your Wednesday, the showers and storms slowly shifting their way to the east. But look at Lincoln and Wichita getting into the 90s tomorrow. As we continue on into your Thursday, temperatures cooling down for a lot of us, with more of that rain moving its way out to the east. Just a slight chance for rain across the Ohio Valley.
Good Tuesday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo. Look at your forecast across the region, and a quieter day today. May have a few leftover showers near the coast in the morning, and then throughout the day we are partly sunny. Can't rule out a very stray shower, but a majority of the region is going to be dry and quiet. 80s to the north, Little Rock to Oklahoma City, 90s to near 100, so hot and humid across much of Texas into Louisiana. Overnight, mainly quiet, but we'll follow those temperatures back to near 70 as we start off our Wednesday.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. We're talking about some excessive heat in the desert Southwest and back toward Death Valley and Palm Springs. Triple-digit heat there. Gusty winds out of Boise and 67. Running cool out of Spokane, Washington. That's because the next weather maker in the Pacific Northwest is the back end of this atmospheric river. More steady rain for Seattle and Portland. And that's the scene from here.
Presented by the National Weather Desk.
In this image from the top of North Carolina's Big Bald Mountain, you can clearly see a rare phenomenon known as a Brocken specter. It's the shadow cast on the water droplets in the fog. To see it, you need bright sunlight and a cloud in the opposite direction. It's typically visible on a misty mountainside. It gets its name from the peak it was first observed on in Germany.
Want to see your weather photos and videos on TV? Click Chime In on this station's website to share.
And we love teaching you about clouds here at the National Weather Desk. Let's turn to meteorologist Evan Chikvera, who uses a viewer photo to help explain what altocumulus clouds are.
These aren't towering cumulus, but rather altocumulus clouds. They get that prefix because they form higher in the atmosphere than your typical cumulus cloud. You'll have those form at a lower base. These, on the other hand, will be in the mid-levels. And when the sun starts to set, you get these wonderful colors. They almost look like colorful cotton balls off in the distance. Nikki Moore capturing this one from Foster's, Alabama.
And we love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Tuesday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.